on, guys? RiddleBox here with Jackalmen Games, and I am excited to bring in the awesome James Fortune Voyager. I call it Fortune because it tilts him every time, but it's Fortune.
Every single time. Fortune.
Fortune. So, guys, we are doing a Sound the Alarm, and the reason why we are doing this is there is a big batch of new, spoilers that was released with the most recent FFG article. And we wanted to get these in front of you guys, give you our thoughts and impressions on these cards, and then also get these quickly into TTS by making these proxies. And there will be a early release to all of our Patreons, and then there will be a public release 48 hours later, so you guys can actually not speculate, but actually play test these cards. So we're super excited to get those to you and talk about these cards today, and to launch the Sound the Alarm, which has been sleeping for a while. So James, thanks so much for joining me today, man. And I'm gonna be hosting us through these cards. And are you excited to talk about them?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. The new cards that were spoiled all look amazing. I'm pretty excited for two in particular as a hero player. So yeah, I'm ready. Let's get started.
Yeah, let's see if Hero gets some love. So we're going to start with this first card, which is going to be C-3PO. He is a character droid, which is really cool. So this is going to be like the first droid hero character that we have, correct?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware.
And he's 8'10", so he is super cheap, which is awesome. And he has a 1 focus, 1 focus, 1 shield, 1 resource, 1 resource. And after you activate this character, you may resolve one of your dice, increasing its value by 1 if you spend 1 resource or spot R2-D2. So what do you think about this? You think the health's good? You think the point cost's good first?
So 8 single die, 10 elite for 8 health, I think is a pretty good amount. 8 health doesn't really last a super long time, especially right now, but yeah. I imagine that this is going to be played in a 3-wide deck, so he's just going to kind of be there to help you get set up. His ability is super strong when paired with R2, turning all of his die into 2 sides. So that's going to be really good. You just, at any point in time, you can double focus whatever supports that you get out, or double focus or double resources to help you build up your board state. So yeah, I think C-3PO is going to be pretty good.
So like after you activate him, you may resolve any of our dice, right? So like any dice that's out, you can immediately resolve it, increasing its value by 1. So it has this neat little like chain ambush kind of thing that Moz had back in the day, which I deeply miss. So we're seeing some speed, not so much by ambush, but we're seeing speed more so by like activation and card abilities, which I think is really neat. And the fact that he's a droid and he's a character, we can explore that a little bit more with this whole subtype and the tribal thing they've done. So I mean, it's great, and it's a legendary. So I mean, what do you think the cost for something like this is gonna be? Like, what do you think these things will sell for?
So a legendary C-3PO, that's probably going to show up in all of the support decks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna throw down like $25.
Yeah, I see $25. I don't think he's going to be much over that, but I think he'll be a good staple. He's got resource, shields, and focus. I mean, that's what you want, right? I mean, that's what you want in a focus or in a vehicle or any kind of support deck. So I think it's going to be super strong.
And I mean, you've got to pair him with R2 too. So like being able to immediately resolve that dice for 2s is just out there, amazing.
So talking about R2-D2, let's look at him. So he is an R2-D2 loyal companion. He is also an 8, but he is an 8 and 11 instead of an 8 and 10. But R2 dishes out some damage, which is pretty cool. So we kind of have more of a control with him because we have 1 melee, 2 melee, 1 disrupt, 1 shield, and 1 resource. And we cannot play blue abilities on this character, but after we activate this character, we may turn one of your dice to its first side, which is kind of interesting, or to any side instead if you spot C-3PO. So what's your thoughts on this?
So I love the idea of introducing effects that turn dice to specific sides, just whatever number side it is. I also love that both C-3PO and R2 have kind of pairing synergy. Mm-hmm. So every time you put them together, they're just immediately better. So if you have anything that allows you to activate multiple characters at once, you can roll in both R2 and C-3PO, use R2's ability to turn a die to whatever side that you want, and then immediately resolve it with that +1 from C-3PO.
And So what we have here is we actually have an image that is going to show some additional pairings. And so as we look at the point cost here of R2-D2 and C3PO, we can see some additional hero characters that we can kind of cost with them. Considering that if we run these characters elite, is that kind of what we're going here? Are we looking at other characters that we can run elite and run R2-D2 and C3PO at single die?
So it's the latter one with R2-D2 and C3PO at single die. These are the 14 cost characters that can pair elite with them.
Very good.
So there's already a couple of really good ones that I kind of zoned in on, and that was Rex, just because he has a pretty good damage side and the ability to take the battlefield so that you can get all of your effect cards off, like things like Seize the Day and things like that require you to have the battlefield. But also one that I was super excited to see was Padme, because those focuses, along with the focuses on C-3PO, just roll in for indirect all day long.
What's your thoughts on Plo Koon with these characters?
Pretty bad, because they're not non-unique.
Yeah, that's true. Because
So
if they were,
his
it's
effect-
like, yeah, I wouldn't trigger. Man,
Yeah,
that'd be
exactly.
freaking broken.
Yeah, it'd be nice, but
Yeah, lame. So Padme's probably the better.
yeah, if you're looking at specifically like max point pairings and not looking to fit a plot in there, I think Padme'd probably be your best choice.
I mean, it'd be neat to get the rainbow effect by running like a Han or Ketsu.
Yeah, I could see that too, especially if you're looking to go the more support route.
Mm-hmm.
It's always nice to have rainbow when you're going for supports, obviously.
Right, do something fun with like Shadowcaster and trying to like sneak damage through and resolve stuff quickly to try to keep things
Right.
online. And,
Yeah, I
and
can
the health
definitely
wouldn't
see
be
that.
bad. You know, that wouldn't be bad at all.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks. The next support deck. C-3PO, R2-D2, and Han.
That's it. Broken. All right, so let's move on to our next character. Our next card, I should say. So the next card we're going to be looking at is going to be an event. It's a villain event. It's gray, 0 cost, and it's going to be acceptable losses. Defeat up to 3 of your characters to gain that many resources. So, I mean, what's your initial thought on this? I mean, mine is like, seems bad, but I mean...
So, I love the idea behind this card. It's obviously super janky.
Right.
The only use that I can really see for it is in swarm decks like battle droids, where you have Arena of Death as your battlefield. So your opponent generally, when you have Arena of Death, will be spreading the damage out, trying to kill everybody at once, so that you're not pinging them for damage every turn. But with this, you can just kill off whoever you want and just stare at them and be like, "All right, well, if you don't claim, I'm going to claim for lethal. What you going to do?"
Yeah, I mean, it could be there as far as like, you know, like the janky element, like you said, like it could be fun. Do you think it's going to get much competitive play? I mean, I know we've only seen maybe 20 something cards right now, total out of the set. So I mean, obviously what we've seen so far, probably the answer is no, but do you think they'll do anything with it to make it a little bit more powerful?
So if it was neutral, I might see it getting a little bit of play just in like Ewok decks.
Right.
Just kill off 3 of the 6 Ewoks that you have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's villain only, and villain really only has battle droid, where this would make sense, in my opinion. So I don't really think it's going to see all that much play.
Gotcha. So this we're not super excited about. This is something that, you know, we'd rank pretty low. But again, we'll see what happens. Next card we're going to go to is going to be Bounty Hunters Guild. So this is 0 cost support. So each of your opponent's characters has +1 downgrade limit. So that's obviously going to be great for just kind of stacking up downgrades across the board. But after you play a bounty, you may activate one of your bounty hunters. So there's that kind of like ambush speed we're getting just by what these cards are doing without actually adding like ambush, so to speak.
Right.
It's villain card. And what do you think about it?
So I think that it's a good card in theory, but in practice, with the bounties that we actually have available to us, I think it's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So the real like rating of this card, we have to wait and see what bounties we're actually going to get from this set, because we'll see later with a couple other cards. There's at least one more that references bounty downgrades. So I feel like we're going to see some more bounties in this set, but none have been revealed yet, as far as I'm aware. So
I mean, I would definitely think they're going to fill it up somehow. because they've really been
Yeah,
focusing on the downgrades and the bounties and things of that sort. So it's like we got to see a bunch more, especially because they're still doing stuff with bounty hunter characters, which we'll get further into. And we got bounty hunter characters, previously. So I would say that yes, there's a good probability that this could become viable. I know that in draft, I recently played a draft over at Cool Stuff, and it was the first opportunity time that I had to play with the new draft set available to us, and downgrades were definitely playable. I mean, it definitely felt like they did things versus in standard, just not there.
If there's one format that downgrades are playable, it's definitely in draft.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this card will probably be like gold tier standard in draft, assuming that they have bounties in the set.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, how would you rank this card 1 to 10? I mean, you think this is, 5?
1 to 10 with what we have now, like a 2.
2? Got it.
If we end up getting at least 2 or 3 really good bounties, I would jump that all the way up to like a 6 or a 7.
All right. So let's move to the next card we have here, which is going to be a 1 resource cost. It's an event. It's neutral in red, and it's called Chain Lightning. So this one's a little interesting. I'm not sure how great it's going to be, but you're going to deal 1 damage to a character. Then you may spend 1 resource to deal 2 damage to another character that shares a subtype with that character. So not only does it have to share a subtype, but you have to pay an additional resource, and you have to pay 1 to do 1. And I mean, what do you think about this?
So I don't really see this getting any play, at least not super competitive play.
Bro, you just pooped on this thing.
Yeah, I did. So I have a kind of resource curve that I always look at cards that deal damage to kind of decide if they're worth it.
Right.
And 1 resource for 1 damage is bad, like really bad. And 2 resources for 3 damage if your opponent happens to share subtypes is okay, but
that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's you being nice to FFG. This isn't Chain Lightning. Right. This is like a sparkler that you give to like your 3-year-old and tell him to run around the yard. Yeah. It's like
this is that scene in Jurassic Park where he lights the flare and then like swings it around. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's it. It's just pissing off your opponent. Didn't really do anything. Anyway, so yeah, 1 to 10 on this, James. What do you put this at as far as playability right now?
Like 1.
1 to 10 for future.
For future, if the meta shifts to where everyone is running tribal decks and everyone is running at least 2 characters that share a subtype, 4.
4, got it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move to the next card here. Next card is Chancellor's Edict. Did I say that right?
Edict, I think.
Edict, yeah. Edict? I don't know.
Edict.
It's a card that has Dooku on it.
We're from the South. We can't read.
It is a downgrade bounty. So that's good. It's for villain. It's blue, right? After this downgrade is played, remove all shields from attached character. After attached character is defeated, you may give a character 2 shields. So it's a 1 resource for a 2 shield investment, but it essentially removes and could potentially remove 3 damage or do 3 damage by removing like 3 shields essentially. So it's 1 for 3 and it's a 2 investment after the character is defeated. So that's not too bad.
Right. So my biggest thing with downgrades and bounties right now is that they're kind of a win more option. If you're getting them to pop off and getting the bonuses from them, you're probably already in a pretty good state. They don't really swing the game like I think was the intentional effect. And this one, though, has an ability both when played and when the character is defeated. So 1 resource for a 3 damage swing right away is right at my curve, so it's good to go. And then if you happen to kill that character off, then you get another 2 health curve, or 2 health swing. So 1 resource for 5 health difference between the 2 players is pretty good in my opinion.
So I feel like this stuff kind of helps like 2 character pairings because you get additional investments and little like packages of support throughout the game. So that's kind of nice versus like, if you have a wider character spread with more health, you have additional actions you can do. You can slow play a little bit more. You can get more benefits out of your sequencing and better trades. But when you're 2 character pairing, like you're kind of at the disadvantage. But when you're playing downgrades and you get this investment once characters are defeated, it really does help. Because at least when you're going against a multiple character spread, they are lower health characters. So you're not going against like a 10 or 11 or 12 health point character. You're going against like a 6 or an 8 or 9. So, I mean, you can, essentially one-shot some people and get some additional, things from it. Just wonder if it's going to be that great to help two character pairings.
Yeah, I don't think that it's going to be an auto-include in every deck, but I definitely think that it's a playable bounty, which we definitely need.
So 1 out of 10 for what you would rate this card now?
Like 6.
A 6? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What about for playability later? As you think, how much use you think we'll get out of it as we see more cards develop in the set?
So, assuming that we continue the bounty hunter bounty theme, like maybe maxing out around 8.
So I think what's happened is people really enjoyed the Jackal hunt that we did April 27th at Breakpoint Games, and they just wanted us to keep with the bounty theme so we can continue to keep doing this. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it was all because of us.
That's right. All right. Here it is.
Here comes my favorite cards.
All right, so we have a new plot for villains, and it's 2, which is a good cost for plots, I feel. So it's Order 66. Each of your opponent's characters gain Jedi. So all of your opponents gain Jedi, right? And then before you draw your starting hand, shuffle up to 4 set-aside copies of Execute Order 66 into your deck. So we can look at these side by side, because I think these need to be looked at together. Let's look at Execute Order 66. So there it is. That is a 2-cost red event for villains. Remove all Jedi dice, which is nuts. For each die removed, deal 1 damage to its matching character. So what is this?
Boy, so first off, I want to say the ability to have 4 extra cards in your deck basically punches Mill in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And also the ability to completely remove all of the character dice for 2 resources while dealing damage. Just basically just laughs at the corpse of Mill.
So FFG doesn't play the game, so they don't know that blue Jedis and blue heroes or any kind of hero Jedi is not doing very well, so they just, they want to continue to demolish it.
Right. So everyone's kind of crapping on these cards because they put blue hero down, but I mean, I don't really think anyone's going to really be playing this Execute Order 66 card without the plot.
Right.
So everybody's going to be a Jedi no matter what you're facing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really feel like it's a hit directly on Blue Hero as much as it is just a hit on decks that rely on their character dice, like Leia Mill.
Right.
Just imagine if Leia rolls into 4 discard, just activating. You remove both for a die and deal 2 damage.
So it's not directed so much towards like Jedis and heroes. Essentially, it's just it's another way of removing dice and dealing damage. Even if you're playing against your opponent that's also villain, doesn't matter. It just essentially gives them this subtype, and then it allows you to be able to mitigate very heavily and do damage at the same time. So it's got a lot of versatility, and it doesn't necessarily go towards hero only. It just is. It's a new kind of tech, really, for the game.
Right. So my examples were all hero only because that's what I play and that's what I can immediately pull off the top of my head.
Right.
But I mean, Execute Order 66 pretty much turns off Yoda, Padme, Leia, Bosch, just all the characters like that rely on their character dice over their upgrade die to actually get stuff done. So it's definitely gonna make some waves.
So Execute Order 66 by itself, not really good. It has to be played with Order 66, is what we're hearing here.
Right. I don't like any cards that are specific to a character subtype when you can't guarantee you're going to be going up against that subtype.
Right.
Especially with how little Hero Blue is being played right now.
I am very thankful for a lot of the subtype mechanics that are available to us, because I remember way back when I first started playing Destiny, I was like, it would be cool if it had a lot of these elements that Magic has with these subtypes and like this tribal kind of things that you can do. And it's definitely gone that direction. So I feel like they're listening to the players, which is really cool. And we're getting a lot of these things. Yeah. So I think this has definitely helped keeping the game interesting and alive. And I think it's a good thing. All right, you ready to go to the next card here, James?
Let's do it. This one's a
this
one's one of our boys.
That's right, Django Fett, and he was not able to join us, Headless Django, because he's a slacker. All right, Armed to the Teeth, 11 health, right? Which is good, decent, right? He is 12 and 14. That I am excited about, and we're gonna go more into that, what we compare him with. So he is a bounty hunter. Each equipment on this character does not count towards its upgrade limit, which is phenomenal. After you play an equipment, this character, if it's the first equipment you play each round, you gain a resource on top of it. So what do you think? You seem eager, James. What do you think?
So he's got a built-in custom bandolier.
Yes.
And makes money anytime you play an equipment on him.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah, this is a great
And he's
card.
damage and money. So he's this big techie, Swiss Army knife of Star Wars, and I'm super in love with this.
I've been playing a lot of the hero custom bandolier setups, so I know how out of hand it can get really quickly. My only negative is that as of right now, there's not a ton of good villain equipment that can be played on.
As of now.
As of now.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously the game is trying to get us to go towards this, direction. And it's kind of neat because it has like this neat equipment kind of fun thing that Palpatine gets with blue abilities, which is neat. So there's kind of like that neat synergy that you get with this character if you thematically play it a certain way. And I think that's neat. So not only are you getting a lot of like buffs and bonuses, but it's also thematic and you can do some neat things with it. So like at least when you're playing a bounty hunter, you feel like you have these attachments on you and they're benefiting you, and you can continue to be able to play for them. Versus before, it was really hard playing things like the rocket launchers. Remember that, the wrist rockets?
Mm-hmm.
It was a cool card, but it just wasn't costed right, and it gave you no additional buffs. But now, if you're playing equipment on a bounty hunter, it's a whole new feel, especially if you're playing with Django.
Right.
So I'm very excited about that. So let's since we're talking about equipments, right? Let's look at some of the equipments that we can actually add here. So if we look at the equipment list that you guys can see, this will actually break down all the like upgrade equipments that we can play as of now. And it shows all the sets here on the right. I'm sure you guys are pretty familiar with this. It even shows how many of James owns of these particular cards. It's
look at those 15 quick draws.
And what's pretty cool is like Riot Shield, Supply Pack. These cards are neutral, which is great, and then villain. So we're looking at all these villains, but there's also a lot of neutral things here, which is pretty cool. So what do you think?
So probably the best things in this list are going to be the quick draw holster, the Mandalorian Van Braces.
Van Bracers, I'm pretty excited to play.
I am actually really excited for those on him too, because they only cost what is it? They cost one. They cost one, so you play it and you immediately get the resource back. Mm-hmm. Power action it back in your hand and play it again.
Yeah. The jetpack's going to be cool. So you have a jetpack, you have Van Bracers. Awesome.
Riot Shield is good too. So yeah, there's a few good choices, but there's just in Hero where you have the same effect kind of going on with Custom Bandolier right now. There's just so many more choices. I just want to see more options coming out in the set.
Yes, if they give us more options, it makes it more playable. Then we can do some thematic things with the pairings, which we're going to get into, and it just makes the game a lot more fun. So there's a lot of our close friends that's going to be excited about being able to play bounty hunters in an actual unique thematic way. So to look at that, go ahead.
And a very good thing to point out real quick is that his points are 12 and 14, which pairs perfectly with the 16-point Boba Fett.
That's right, which I'm super excited about because that is like one of my favorite characters in Destiny. So I will be definitely running these proxies in an upcoming TTS gameplay. So me and James have the intent to put some of these pairings together that we think is going to be fun, whether it's hero vehicles and supports or something with these bounty hunters, so you guys can see how they play through. And then, of course, we'll be having these for our Patreons early released and then to the public for you guys later to experience. So it's going to be a good time. So let's talk about some of these characters, man, and some of the pairings that we can have.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we have right here displayed 16 elite characters, right? Because 16 plus 14 is 30.
That's right. You got it. Look at that math.
So let's look at these. So we have Boba Fett, which is going to be great. Jabba the Hutt, Maul, Asajj, DJ, Fifth Brother, Kira, and Tarkin. So obviously we're really excited about Boba Fett. But what's your second interesting character you can run that you're excited about?
I'm pretty excited for the Kira pairing, honestly.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, so Fifth Brother and Asajj and Maul kind of don't really make the cut. Jabba's not super good with the pairing, but Kira, potentially DJ, and Tarkin are all pretty good pairings in my opinion. And of course, Boba.
And the health is just like right neck and neck, so there's not like a huge advantage health wise. If you look at the damage sides, I mean, definitely Kira's going to be able to pack a little bit more heat. That 3-for-1 is great, and you're going to get some more synergy if you run Boba. But I kind of would rather have the additional resources that you can get and the discard with the extra little oomph and damage. But that Boba special is pretty nice, especially if you can actually get some good use out of Boba with some of the higher cost vehicles that we can be seeing. It's gonna be fun to throw like a sniper die in someone's face, but yeah, because I'm tired of seeing that thing. But yeah, I think this is a good direction for Destiny. We're seeing them trying to revive some 2 character pairings, which they definitely need to do, because now it's like, if you're not running 3, why are you playing? Because it's just like 2 spread just isn't doing much right now.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, so let's move on to the next card. So we've gone over the equipment and the possible character pairings for Jango Fett. Let's go to the next card, which I'm excited to show off, which is Gauntlet Rockets. And this card right here. Yes, speaking of Gauntlet Rockets, 3 resources, a slew of damage sides. It is villain, but it's bounty hunter only, which I appreciate. And its action is pretty cool. Choose a character. Turn this die to a side showing a value equal to or less than the number of bounties on that character. So that implies that there's going to be a possibility of having cheap bounties stacked on a certain character or throughout the board. So that's interesting. But what do you think about this?
So I definitely think that this is in the right direction as far as us needing better villain equipments, like we were just saying. I'm really interested, again, in seeing how many new bounties come out this set, and I think the rating of this card kind of still just depends on that. But I mean, 3 cost for 4 damage sides is pretty good, but I'm always kind of iffy about paying more than 2 resources for an upgrade when it doesn't have redeploy.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's bounty hunter only. It doesn't have redeploy. It costs 3. It's villain, so it's not even, can't do nothing with it neutral. It has no versatility, essentially. It's just very specific on a certain character. So, I mean, to rate this card in this meta or in the game, I mean, what do you think? It's going to be low, right?
So, in a complete vacuum, I'd give it like a 3.
Okay. And then potentially how it can be exploited later. What do you think as the card's developed?
Up to about a 6.
Okay. Fair enough. I agree with that. I think that the 2 and the 3 and the +4 is great because we have a lot of like range potential in a lot of the decks right now, so it has value there. But I mean, honestly, I'd put this thing as like a 1 because it's just like it's good, but it's like there's other things I could be spending 3 on. I mean, with Entourage out for 3 right now, it's just like that's like the best 3 costs anything you can play right now.
That's true.
So it's just
I mean, why play upgrades when you can just play supports?
Right, play supports. As he sits back and smiles. Okay, the next card.
It's a disgusted smile.
I know. Hey, our headsets match. Look at that. Are we playing that or what? All right, 0 resources. Red event. Rally the troops. Choose a character subtype. Here we go again. Then either re-roll any number of dice that have that subtype or resolve 2 of your dice that have that subtype. Go ahead, James. What do you think?
So it's all right. It kind of plays into that same theme that RiddleBox has been mentioning, in that cards are allowing you to take multiple actions without so much giving you ambush. So it's soft removal starting off, and that you can try and re-roll some of your opponent's die. It's all right. Works probably see it about as much as maybe Doubt or something like that. But then the ability to also be able to resolve up to 2 of your dice that are showing different symbols. So say, for instance, you roll in a resource and 2 ranged for 1. You could play this card, grab that resource, and then deal the 2 damage all in just 1 action. So that's pretty good. I like it. I don't know exactly how much play it'll get, but I definitely see potential.
So it reminds me of the Battlefield that essentially does that. Do you remember the name of it? There's a Battlefield that allows you to do that. It's like lets you re-roll a die and then re-roll another die that shares the same subtype. It kind of has that feel to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's called.
So it's a power action that you can do, and yeah, I just can't. The name slipped, but it's similar to that, which is neat.
It's not like Weeda Palace, is it?
Weeda Palace gives you the resource, and then you can take a resource from it as a power action.
No, that's right.
Yeah, this is man, I can't think of the name of it right now. But anyway, it gives you that kind of ability, which is fun. It's annoying. It's like similar to what Stone Good was saying as we were talking about this card. It's kind of like soft mitigation a little bit, so it kind of like messes up their hand and messes up their synergy.
Did you call me Stone Good?
No, Kevin. When we were talking to him in chat. Yeah,
I was like, sir.
No, Kevin was mentioning Stone Good about this as we were talking about this earlier, that it had like a soft mitigation kind of feel, kind of like an overconfidence kind of feel, but it still gave you options. I mean, for 0, I think it's kind of what makes it possibly playable, but I don't think it's super solid. I mean, what would you rate this card right now in the meta?
Right now in the meta,
messes up like honestly, all these scoundrel dice.
So you'd probably be seeing it a lot with Watt.
Yeah, of course.
And
good call.
Let's see. Yeah, no, I honestly, with the subtypes and the decks that are out there right now, I'd probably rate this like a 7 or an 8.
Yeah, I think you can definitely do some things with this right now in the meta because of the scoundrel dice and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, later in the meta, we'll see. I mean, I think that we are going to see more options for it because there will be more synergy in subtypes. I mean, that's right. The way everything's going right now. So,
I kind of wish it was neutral.
Me too. I was thinking
really love for it to be neutral, but whatever.
Right.
FFG just pooping on Hero again.
Yeah, give us these great cards. But see, me and Fortune are very like big Hero fans. Like we love that. That's lightsabers and heroes and Jedis are awesome. Yeah. But nobody cares. That's why we don't have any cards for us. So let's move on to the next one. All right, here we go. 0 cost. Seizing territory, ambush, spot a trooper to take control of the battlefield. This is neutral, and this is a red event, and it has ambush, and it's 0. Great, all right, great. Yeah. Spot a trooper die to take control of the battlefield. Why?
So it ticks all of my little marks for what a good card is.
Mm-hmm.
0 cost with ambush and can be played by anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's red, and red has a crap ton of cards that require you to have the battlefield to actually use them. So this lets you set up for things like Snuff Out. This lets you set up for things like Seize the Day. Set up for things like what's that one that removes all dice showing 2 or higher?
Oh yeah, and you have to have control of the battlefield to do it.
Yeah.
So that's super online for that.
But yeah, basically this sets red up to do whatever you want for the turn.
And it's neutral, so it's got some love. So I think this is going to be a great card. I think the reason they printed this is to give us more versatility with the troopers, which I think is great. And I'm very happy. I'm happy to have a swarm of troopers doing all these great things.
I think the only red deck that doesn't necessarily play this is something that's hyper aggro that will have the battlefield anyway, and Rex decks.
Right. Yeah, because this right here like doesn't really. I mean, it can help Rex, but Rex doesn't really need it. It kind of gives like the extra oomph to the other people who want to play troopers and do more things with like Phasma Trooper or whatever, and still be able to do Seize the Day like you were saying, and still have some rear mitigation online. So that's great for the mitigation package that we have currently. So in this meta right now, what would you rate this?
Like 10.
Great. Wow. That's a great rating. And then as far as later in the meta, you think it'll hold its strong number, or you think it'll deplete?
I think it'll stay just as good. I think you can't understate how important it is for a red deck to have the battlefield.
Right. So we're gonna see play. This is gonna see play. Got it. All right, so I think we have one more card for everybody, and this is going to be a 1 resource Sinister Ruse. Reveal a random card in an opponent's hand and deal indirect damage to them equal to the cost of the revealed card for villains. What do you think?
Yes, very sinister. But yeah, no, this is a garbage card. So it's 1 resource cost. It deals indirect damage and has a chance to hit a 0 cost card in there.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And we have a lot of 0 cost cards right now. And we have a lot of 1 cost cards that are decent. So it's like it's like, okay, we're gonna give you this, which could possibly hit like a fist or these higher upgrades and maybe do some damage. I mean, what great scenario would be hitting a planetary bombardment for 6?
Right. So like obviously it has a huge cap on what it can do, especially with the cards that we have out right now.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that you could potentially lose 2 resources, one being a resource, one being a card, for 0 gain.
Yeah.
I'm never going to put it in a deck. Probably.
So cards like this have to be played in like a very strategic deck type where you have to kind of have hand knowledge and find ways to make it work, and there's synergy there.
I could see it working in something like a Kylo deck where you're taking a look at their hand,
right?
Or if you're playing that one card,
there's a downgrade
that lets you look at their hand. Yeah, that's true. There's
the downgrade that reveals three
random cards.
Yep, and then you also have As I've Foreseen, which reveals hand.
There are specific ways that I could see it seeing play, but I just 99% of the time I don't think so.
Right. So you would rate this card right now what? 0. And
0 out of 10.
And later in the game, the 0.
I don't know. I'm probably being a little bit too harsh. Like we were saying earlier, I can see play in a certain couple of things. So maybe a 3 currently. Future rating just kind of depends on whether or not we stay with the support meta.
Right.
If the support meta stays strong and everyone's running around with 50 like 3+ cost cards in their hand, then yeah, I could see it staying around a 3 or getting worse if they don't.
Right. All right, so we have 2 images for you guys before we bring this to an end. These are other images that we saw with the articles and things that were spoiled, but the reason why we are bringing these to the attention of the Sound the Alarm is to talk about the TL50 Heavy Repeater. So this is seen in this image. We don't have the full image of the card, but it's pretty neat. It's a 3 resource cost red upgrade. I'm imagining this is for a villain just because the fact that it's got a stormtrooper on it. And we're seeing that has a power action. And this power action is if this upgrade is, we're assuming, on a trooper, turn this die to any side. So if you attach it and you activate it and you want to use a power action to turn it to any side, that's good. But what do you think the last half of this card says here, James?
So from what I can piece together, I think that it is a special ability, because if you take a close look at the die, that's the special side
right
at the
there.
Top. So I think the special ability is deal some amount of indirect damage to an opponent and then re-roll this die instead of removing it.
So it could be based on the amount of troopers you have in play, maybe?
I don't know if there's enough room for that. I think that's just going to say like a flat amount of indirect.
Got it. Okay. And we see that there's a 3 for 1, right? We see a 2 for maybe for 1. I mean, right now, this card doesn't seem bad. It's a rare. It's not legendary, so they don't probably expect it to be great, but I think it's going to see some play.
So with it being a rare, it probably only has 1 special side, because 2 would make it really strong.
Good point.
But I do want to say that we can never kind of put away how good the ability to re-roll a die after resolving it is.
Yes.
Like, we all know how ridiculous Force Storm is right now. So determined by how much indirect you're actually doing. Like, if it's pinging you for 1 indirect every time you roll it in, whatever.
Right.
But if it's pinging for like 3 or 4, and you roll it into the special naturally like 3 or 4 times, well, the game's about to be over.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it has a very high potential.
I think this was definitely something worth mentioning, because I'm very excited to see what this is.
I am as well.
I really like the way that the troopers are playing, and it's very fun, and I think something like this is very healthy for it.
I agree. I do have to mention the negative in that it doesn't have redeploy and it's a 3 cost.
Yes.
But with the ability to turn the die to whatever side that you want and the ability to just roll back out and get that indirect again and again, I think that it kind of makes up for it.
So is it just me, or are we not getting much redeploy? I mean, we do have some redeploy upgrades, like the shock, whatever it is, the in the draft set that has redeploy for 3. But I mean, there's not a lot of other big redeploy options. I mean, we still have heirloom, which is great. We still have some blasters that have it, but I mean, not as much as we used to. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely cutting down on it, and I don't know if that is really helping the problem right now, because I think the reason that supports are so big in the meta right now is because they don't need redeploy. They're just going to be on the field
there
from the time that you play them until the game's over, unless somebody like vandalizes or dismantles.
Right.
But with upgrade, so if you pay 3 for the TL50 instead of 3 for an entourage, and then your character dies, well, then you just lost 3 resources.
Right.
Whereas if you play an entourage and your character dies, well, your entourage is still there.
Right, exactly.
So.
And then I know that Convergence lets you spot any number of characters that have the same subtype to discard a support or upgrade or downgrade that costs that same. So that's kind of neat. It's 2 though, which is freaking expensive. So you have to pay 2 resources. You have to spot these subtypes, and you can bounce, supports off the table. But we don't see a lot of play on that either, because it's just expensive, and there's not a
Exactly.
lot that's sharing subtypes, but that could be later an option or an answer to some of these supports. Later, we'll see. But yeah, so I think this is a very interesting card. I am actually really excited to see how this develops.
Same.
So we have one more for you guys, and the reason why we are bringing this up is we see something Fate with R2D2, and he is just kind of chilling out there on a 2-cost plot, and all we see is after you exhaust and C3PO that char characters.
Yep. So we know nothing about the card.
We know
other
nothing
than
about it.
Requires C3PO.
Yep, we know that, and we know that. Yeah, if you exhaust and it does something, and yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. I think that's a 10 out of 10.
There you go. 10 out of 10.
That's
Heard it
my
here
rating.
first.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We were very excited to do another Sound the Alarm, and we want to say thank you to all of our Patreons that have just been supporting us through all this, and we're excited to get the proxies to you guys, some fun TTS gameplays with these cards so you can see them being played and get some ideas for yourself. And please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and make sure you give us your thoughts and opinions on these cards in the image or area below. They do something, right? I think it's
Somewhere down there.
Okay. All right, guys. Y'all take it easy, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you then, guys.